It's time for listener communications. You are listening to Brothers of the Serpent podcast.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, angels and demons and monsters and serpents, to a Brothers of the Serpent podcast, coming to you not live from the 10 by 10 by 10 tangent cube of science, nestled amongst the dusty bones of an ancient seabed high atop the Everest Plateau. So we are scrambling, getting ready for Egypt, leaving in 2 days. We wanted to get one more show out for you guys before we take off. So once again, there will be content in the Discord as we're in Egypt when service is available. We'll be taking pictures and commenting, and like I said on the last show, Ben is bringing some gear and Kyle's bringing some gear, so we might be able to do some sods direct from the pyramids. You know, like let's
like from inside
the GP down in the subterranean chamber.
It's gonna be some serious sound issues in there. We can do it from outside.
That's what we want. The sound of the pyramids.
We just got to sing a sea shanty down in there.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
That could be the show.
Yeah,
maybe we need a sand shanty.
A sand shanty. Yeah, we need a desert
I
song.
come from a land, from a faraway place, where the caravan camels roam.
Still good. Yeah, so we're really looking forward to the trip. It's going to be awesome. We're super excited, but of course, you guys know how it is with international travel. We're scrambling, trying to get everything ready, and it's going to be awesome. So it looks like everything's coming together. So we're hopeful at this point that everything's going to go off without a hitch.
Yep.
So I know we don't actually have an agricultural update, but I just want to play this. Farm's doing great, guys.
Yep, everything's still green. It's muddy out there.
We made this new jingle, obviously, for agricultural update.
And it's wintertime.
Yeah.
We're heading into wintertime.
Right,
so
nothing's happening. And
it's fall, I should say. We were terrible about this.
All right, well, let's go ahead and do Space Weather News then. From spaceweather.com. Geomagnetic storm slightly delayed. A CME expected to hit Earth on October 11th is running late. As a result, NOAA forecasters have shifted their prediction of a possible G2 class geomagnetic storm from October 11th to October 12th. G2 class storms are moderately strong and can produce naked eye auroras in northern tier U.S. states. Also, departing sunspot explodes, but misses Earth. Yesterday, October 10th, an active region on the western edge of the sun exploded, producing a C2 class solar flare. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory captured a plume of hot plasma flying out of the blast site. The debris will not hit Earth. Shortly after the blast, SOHO coronagraphs detected a CME emerging from the blast site, but it was narrow and moving outside the Earth strike zone. Modeling by NOAA analysts has ruled out even a glancing blow. So, current conditions, solar wind speed is 326.6 kilometers per second. The density is 5.2 protons per cubic centimeter. Current sunspot number is 38. The neutron count is 9.2% above the space age average, and the KP index is quiet at 3, and the 24-hour max is also 3 at the top end of the quiet range. So there's your space weather news for this week.
All right.
What about crypto? Let me pull up crypto.
I bet you
here.
got fast crypto now.
Yeah, I got super fast crypto, new phone.
I don't, because I'm not signed in. Dang.
Let's see. Bitcoin. Where's my belt? There we go. Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen, is at $57,162.60, and Ethereum is at $3,504.71. Woohoo! Yeah. There's your crypto update. My crypto accounts are doing good right now, or at least they are maintaining their average over the past couple of months. That's what I'd say they're doing.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, should I do some news stories?
Yeah, let's hear what you got. Oh, and the Watcher says he'll be up and running in 5. Let's see how that goes.
In 50?
5.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
50 is probably a better call. Yeah.
All right. Forgive the sniffles, folks. I got some residuals left over in the nasal cavity. No big deal,
Not a big deal.
but it is annoying.
Yeah.
All right, this one's from Mystery Wire. And we've talked about these before. This is about the human ghost tracks in New Mexico. One of the stories we did a while back was when they found the mile-long
Yeah.
trek with the child.
Right.
Fascinating story that I love
Yes.
just thinking about and talking about still. It's just incredible stuff.
An intense and emotion-inducing tale.
Yeah.
That one was.
Yeah. And the implications of the
Right.
fact that these tracks are so well preserved
Right.
in straight lines at the bottom of a lake
Yeah.
that was dry when they were made, or
Right.
muddy.
Muddy.
Okay, so human ghost tracks in New Mexico are 13,000 years older than Nevada's Spirit Caveman, is the headline.
So should I look up Caveman?
Sure, I think they do talk about it in the story. I hadn't read this in a little while,
Okay.
but footprints of the first Americans? ? The timeline of when humans first appeared in North America has changed dramatically in recent years, in part because of a mummy estimated to be around 10,000 years old that was found in a Nevada desert cave 80 years ago. And now, more recently, ancient footprints found in New Mexico. Scientists discovered the footprints, so-called ghost tracks, in the White Sands National Park just north of El Paso about 12 years ago, and have now completed dating them. The humans who were walking around this part of North America did so almost 23,000 years ago.
Wow.
The
All right,
first-
real quick. It's the Spirit Cave mummy.
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. Sorry, I don't have the date yet. Here it is. 9,400 years old, uncalibrated. So approximately 11.5.
Wow. Yes. Amazing.
Yeah. All right.
The first footprints were found in a dry lake bed in the park in 2009. Scientists at the U.S. Geological Survey recently analyzed seeds stuck in the footprints to determine their approximate age, ranging from about 22,800 and 21,130 years ago. These incredible discoveries illustrate that White Sands National Park is not only a world-class destination for recreation, but is also a wonderful scientific laboratory that has yielded groundbreaking fundamental research, said Park Superintendent Mari Sauter. The fossilized footprints were preserved in multiple layers of gypsum soil on a large playa at White Sands National Park. Researchers analyzed seeds that were embedded in the footprints using radiocarbon dating that was analyzed by the U.S. Geological Survey to determine the age. The research significantly extends the range for the coexistence of human and Ice Age megafauna, which confirms the presence of humans in North America before the major glacial advances at the peak of the last Ice Age, as the peak of the last Ice Age closed migration routes from Asia. Well, that's not how it's written, but it seems like it should be written that way. Anyway, the current study provides a more solid baseline for when humans definitely were in North America, although they could have arrived even earlier, the authors say. Fossil footprints are more indisputable and direct evidence than cultural artifacts, modified bones, or other conventional fossils, they wrote in the journal Science. Based on the size of the footprints, researchers believe that at least some were made by children and teenagers who lived during the last Ice Age. David Bustos, the park's resource program manager, spotted the first footprints in ancient wetlands in 2009. He and others found more in the park over the years. We knew they were old, but we had no way to date these prints before we discovered some with seeds on top, he said on Thursday. Made of fine silt and clay, the footprints are fragile, so the researchers had to work quickly to gather samples, Bustos said. The only way we can save them is to record them, to take a lot of photos and make 3D models, he said. Earlier excavations in White Sands National Park have uncovered fossilized tracks left by a saber-toothed cat, dire wolf, Columbian mammoth, and other Ice Age animals. And so they show a picture here where there are these odd dark spots which were later discovered to be hidden footprints under.
Oh, under the.
Yes, so you see these like So the footprints were made in the drier clay, and then a finer silt settled into them and covered them up, but they're like a little bit darker and sort of like.
Okay, yeah.
So they started excavating, and once they excavate them, they're not going to last very long.
Right.
Unless they like covered them up with plaster or something. I don't know what they would do. So, let's see where we go here. The next section is about Spirit Caveman. The original story was part of a series called The First Americans and aired in November 1999 on KLAS TV in Las Vegas. Scientists had no idea of the significance of their find until DNA testing a half a century later proved the mummy to be the oldest human remains ever found in North America, dating back more than 10,000 years. So is this a Clovis person?
Well, this says researchers estimate the death of this person to have occurred about 7,420 BC. So that would definitely be post-Clovis.
Oh, okay.
It also says the mummy was originally thought by sculptors to be between 1,500 and 2,000 years old until mass spectrometry dates were carried out and the sculptors were shown to be totally wrong, as always. That's a direct quote from Wikipedia.
Wow. They are...
Somebody's listening to Snake Bro
Yeah.
over there. Yeah.
Spirit Caveman was found inside a cave in the Great Basin Desert in northwest Nevada in 1940. Years later, it became a focal point of a legal and ethical fight involving science, the U.S. government, and Native American tribes regarding how or if human remains should be studied and who should take ownership of mummies and bones. And here's a
Yeah,
picture.
there's a thing in here about repatriation to the Shoshone tribe.
Shoshone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fallon, Paiute, Shoshone. I may be butchering some of those words, but yeah.
So there's some pictures here, and this is very interesting. He's got this woven hat.
There's a woven...
He's got a woven purse-like basket.
The whole thing was wrapped in material.
That's just awesome. Look at that. Wow. This was a nice... Or was he a sleeping bag? Was he in a sleeping bag? Or
a sleeping bag.
It was like a...
First you make pants, then you need to make a sleeping bag.
He passed out in his sleeping bag, and then the cataclysm hit.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Well, at least he died in his sleep.
Yeah.
Thousands of years ago, much of Nevada was covered by a giant lake, and the people who lived along the shore survived thanks to fresh water and abundant animal life. Descendants of early native tribes ran farms and ranches on the land the current tribe says has always been its home. I would really like to see maps of this lake, like full and, Randall-style maps.
This is cool, too. This says Wizard's Beach man's remains were also in the collection of the Nevada State Museum and were radiocarbon dated at the same time as the Spirit Cave mummy. And it turned out to be another early Holocene skeleton dating almost to exactly the same era. He was found in 1978 at Wizard's Beach on Pyramid Lake.
Oh, my gosh.
About 100 miles to the northwest from Spirit Cave. And
Wizard's Beach on Pyramid Lake. Come on.
I know, come on. And radiocarbon dating has established that he lived more than 9,200 years ago. And Lovelock Cave, another important early site, is also nearby to both of these places.
Wow, dude.
It's really cool.
We need to go check this stuff out.
Check this stuff out.
Scientists for many years said the first people in North America came here at the end of the Ice Age about 12,000 years ago by crossing a land bridge from northern Asia. Now, scientists say Spirit Caveman is a relative of those first people. Nevada State Museum is home to many historical artifacts from ancient life in the state to more modern photographs and stories of Western explorers. But for nearly 50 years, the museum had no idea that hidden out of sight in its holdings was one of the archaeological finds of the century. Shortly after the discovery of the mummified body of Spirit Caveman in 1940, researchers wrote a short report, stored the bones in a box, and forgot about it.
Yeah.
In the report, researchers stated the bones dated back to about 2,000 years ago. Mm-hmm. Dry desert weather over the millennia helped preserve the mummy. Hair on the Spirit Caveman's head was still intact.
Yeah, so they must have just looked at it like physically and decided it wasn't that old because it was so well preserved.
Yeah. In the 1990s, researchers at the museum saw an opportunity to use carbon dating to determine how old the mummy truly was. They were shocked to discover the body could be more than 9,000 years old. These results would make this discovery the oldest human remains ever found in North America at 10,600 years old. That's 5,000 years older than the mummies of ancient Egypt. So yeah, this is another possibility of like, where are the Clovis people?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all 1,500, 2,000-year-old skeletons.
Right.
That's where they are.
That's right, in basements. Yeah.
Yeah. But upon further inspection, the researchers realized the body had been wrapped in mats made of reeds. They also found the remains of a well-stitched robe along with lined moccasins and other weaved fabrics. To make these involves using technology that wouldn't be seen again for some 8,000 years. It makes me question some of the stuff we found in the caves in Devil's River.
Yeah. Yep.
God.
Yep. Matting and flip-flops made out of organic material and stuff. Yeah. Yep.
Yep. What were they? Pleistocene cruisers.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Now,
Pleistocene cruisers.
Now the goal was to figure out how Spirit Caveman died. Researchers found some evidence of damage to his skull from battles and some evidence of dental problems. What's now a simple trip to the dentist could have meant death. Spirit Caveman's skull had similarities to early Polynesians, also to prehistoric Japanese, and even to seafaring Norsemen, but few links were found to modern Native American tribes. BLM archaeologist Pat Barker said during a 1999 interview, the proponents of the scientific view would say, based on all of the scientific evidence we have, there is no chance that a 9,000-year-old set of remains could be affiliated with anybody in the modern world. Spirit Cave is on public land. This meant it was up to the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, to decide what happened to the remains. For many years, scientists pushed for more tests, including modern DNA testing. Citing the discovery of 9,200-year-old Wizard's Beach Man, also found in Nevada, and the much younger but better-known Kennewick Man in Washington State, the scientists claimed...
What? Younger? Oh, Kennewick Man was really old. Okay.
I mean, how come I've never heard of these guys?
I've heard of Kennewick. That's the one that...
Yeah, I've heard of Kennewick Man, but this is...
Wizard's
They get into the same fight.
Yeah, the same fight, the repatriation fight.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I mean, and it's hard to know, like what side do you fall down on that one? Fall on that one. Like, I want studies to be done, but at the same time, I understand, like, revere our stop poking around at our ancestors.
Yeah, I get that too.
Yeah, it's a tough fight. It's a tough argument.
And maybe someday we'll have better technology, and we don't have to do any destructive analysis.
Yeah, they don't have to like take core samples out of the bones and yeah.
Look, I'm gonna wear. I just bury me with like a granite block that has
all the details on it. Just donate your body to science.
I'll just take some bone cores and place them in some nice little jars.
Like,
and set them
have
next to my
jars
skeleton.
with like bone cores already. Like, these are ready for dating.
Take these and figure it out. A little diagram of the processional, clock when I died.
Yeah.
And then I'll just be crushed under an ocean of magma or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
You'll be under 40 feet of the salt.
All right. So, hold on. The scientists were trying to get data. They claimed it helped prove North America became populated during several mass migrations from Asia. A different theory was Europeans may have crossed the Atlantic some 18,000 years ago.
Yep, that would be the Solutrean hypothesis.
That's right. It was a debate tribal leaders did not want to have.
Nope.
We don't believe that DNA testing should be done, or any testing should be done. We feel it's desecrating our ancestors, Donna Cassette from the Paiute Shoshone tribe said. Under a 1990 federal law, museums were required to return all human remains to affiliated tribes. This led to tribal leaders legally stopping all research on the remains. For years, the Falan Paiute Shoshone tribe objected to any display of the artifacts. Now, and I fully understand that too. Like displaying
display, I can,
Yeah, but for science, come on.
But at the same time, I went to, and I think you went with us. We have the local museum there in San Antonio. What's it called? I just had it. Yeah. Anyway, there's a museum in San Antonio.
Whitty.
The Whitty. Yes, the Whitty Museum. It's kind of a, what is it? It used to be the manor house of a wealthy person, right?
Something
and now
like that,
it's
yeah.
converted into a museum. And they had the Mummies of the World exhibit, right?
Yeah, that was amazing.
I mean, it was fantastic. And some of those mummies were not that old and they have living descendants,
Yeah.
So when I was in there and I'm like, they were like, no cameras, no pictures. And I'm like, why not? Like, I'm in here for science, guys. Like, what's the deal? And they were like, well, some of these mummies have living family members and they don't want to see pictures of their dead relatives'
On the
faces
internet,
all over
yeah.
the internet. And I was like, all right, I can understand that,
Yeah.
But at the same time, you see like some of those bodies were really well preserved, like German nobility. Remember those
Yeah.
guys? Huge, giant boots, like really tall. I mean, they're mummified and they're still 6'2".
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's interesting. Like, what would we do? Like if one of our great grandfathers was well preserved in some mausoleum somewhere, and they wanted to do like a grand tour of mummified corpses, and
I mean, if he was
and they're asking like, can we take your great grandfather and tour him around the world? That would be.
I'd be like, go for it, granddaddy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not. I don't.
Yeah, maybe we don't. We're not in the right.
Maybe it's easy to
cultural-
talk or something. I don't
Well,
know. But
it's also like we're not really in the right cultural context because we don't like our Western civilization doesn't do what they call ancestor worship, right? It's not really ancestor worship, but like Japan, where in every house there's a little altar to your
Yeah, yeah.
ancestors, and like maybe there's a little bit more reverence for the dead in that sense, and you wouldn't want.
yeah,
your
we
great-
got problems with that. I think in our culture.
Yeah, so
But-
maybe that's why we're like, yeah, go for it, granddaddy. But maybe if you grow up in a different culture that has more reverence for your ancestors and you think that they still exist with you and
Yeah,
whatever. I don't know.
our reverence for the ancestors is like, okay, boomer, right? I mean, there's no, it's just, it's trash.
Okay, boomer.
But okay, I will say that displaying artifacts and remains is a way for people to have a connection, right? To it makes it real.
Yeah.
It makes it like, wow, these people were, wow, look at this person.
Yeah.
This is something amazing. To me, I don't think of it as like, oh, these were Native Americans or these were, whoever. It's like, these are people. These are
Yeah.
humans
Yeah.
from our past. And that's maybe that's naive. I don't know. But I'm
Yeah.
just like, to me, it makes me connect
Yeah.
to that person.
Like, what do they do about what do they call the Crystal Princess?
Oh yeah.
She's like
God.
stuck to the floor of the cave, all crystallized,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I mean, what do you do with that? Like, if you find out, like, I just imagine, like, if I found out somehow, like, they were doing tests and I found out, like, wow, like, somehow I'm directly related to this person, I'd feel like a sense of awe and reverence just for that. Like, wow, this is like my direct ancestor. Here it is. Like, she's given us details on our history. I don't know. It's a tough question.
Yeah. Well, when you're not brought up in the culture,
Yeah.
it's hard to come from that idea and,
Yeah.
and have it make sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a tough argument. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd
be like, man, the Crystal Princess is my great grandma, dude. I'd be proud of that,
yeah, that'd be cool. All right, so back to the story here. The basic argument, this is a quote. The basic argument comes down to the value or the weight you put on scientific data versus tribal expert testimony. According to the BLM archaeologist Pat Barker, does the value of the science outweigh the sensitivities of the people that think they're associated with it? Most Americans would not want their grandparents dug up and have all this stuff done to them.
Well,
So it's an issue that it goes beyond science and it goes into our core values as people in the United States.
okay. Yeah. So we just went over that
Yeah.
whole discussion. Like, he says most Americans wouldn't want that. Like, I don't know. Is that true? Maybe we're weird.
We might be weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's highly possible.
Do it for science, Granddad.
Yeah. See you when you come back around the world.
Yeah.
The well-documented case lasted until 2015, when the tribe allowed Esk Willislev of the University of Cambridge and the University of Copenhagen to run a genome sequencing DNA test, extracting DNA from Spirit Caveman's skull. DNA analysis proved the 10,600-year-old mummy is related to present-day Paiute Native Americans. In 2016, scientists returned the remains to the tribe. Spirit Caveman was buried in a private ceremony in 2018 by the Falan Paiute Shoshone tribe. So at some point they relented and allowed a certain Eske Willislev of the University of Cambridge and the University of Copenhagen to do this testing. They allowed this, yeah. So I guess they relented and let him do it, and then it turned out
under the conditions that you say he's related to us. I don't know.
Could have been.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
It just seems weird, like that kind of stuff when they get into these huge fights, and then
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
I know that's strange.
I probably shouldn't be doubting that, but still, it's weird.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
It when it gets political,
Yes, that's the problem.
That's when I stop trusting everything.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a sad state of affairs. But anyways, so this is also, I just felt like these two stories were a good back to back. This is on space.com. So forgive me if there are crazy pop-up windows and I lose my place. And this is about the
Is the Watcher here? Let me check.
I don't know. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
5 minutes becomes 50.
That's right. Yep. Classic Watcher.
A giant space rock demolished an ancient Middle Eastern city, possibly inspiring the biblical story of Sodom.
Yeah.
This article was originally published at The Conversation. Christopher R. Moore, archaeologist and special projects director at the Savannah River Archaeological Research Program and South Carolina Institute for Archaeology and Anthropology, University of South Carolina. As the inhabitants of an ancient Middle Eastern city now called Tel El Hammam went about their daily business one day about 3,600 years ago, they had no idea an unseen icy space rock was speeding towards them at about 38,000 miles per hour. Flashing through the atmosphere, the rock exploded in a massive fireball about 2.5 miles above the ground. The blast was around 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima atomic bomb. The shocked city dwellers who stared at it were blinded instantly. Air temperatures rapidly rose above 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit. Clothing and wood immediately burst into flames.
Yep. Flash fried.
Swords, spears, mud bricks, and pottery began to melt. Almost immediately, the entire city was on fire. Some seconds... What's that?
No, that
Yeah.
Sorry.
Some seconds later, a massive shockwave smashed into the city, moving at about 740 miles per hour. It was more powerful than the worst tornado ever recorded. The deadly winds ripped through the city, demolishing every building. They sheared off the top 40 feet of the 4-story palace and blew the jumbled debris into the next valley. None of the 8,000 people or any animals within the city survived. Their bodies were torn apart and their bones blasted into small fragments.
Man.
About a minute later, 14 miles to the west of Tel El Hammam, winds from the blast hit the biblical city of Jericho. Jericho's walls came tumbling down, and the city burned to the ground. Remember when I went and read the story of the Jericho, and it was like the circling of the city and the blowing of the trumpets, and we were like, dude, this is like a comet, like circling around and around and around. And then, wow, that's cool. We ought to pull that up in the break. It all sounds like the climax of an edge-of-your-seat Hollywood disaster movie. No, it doesn't. How do we know that all of this actually happened near the Dead Sea in Jordan millennia ago? Getting answers required nearly 15 years of painstaking excavations by hundreds of people. It also involved detailed analysis of excavated material by more than 24 scientists in 10 states in the U.S., as well as Canada and the Czech Republic. When our group finally published the evidence recently in the journal Scientific Reports, the 21 co-authors included archaeologists, geologists, geochemists, geomorphologists, mineralogists, paleobotanists, sedimentologists, cosmic impact experts, and medical doctors.
Did I just screw something up?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
Did you try to play a sound bit?
I moved the modulation down because it was
No.
way up, and then I saw
you're
that big red block appear. Okay. All right. Sorry about
All
that,
good.
folks. Okay. It's some inside baseball there.
Years ago, when archaeologists looked out over excavations of the ruined city, they could see a dark, roughly 5-foot thick jumbled layer of charcoal, ash, melted mud bricks, and melted pottery. It was obvious that an intense firestorm had destroyed this city long ago. This dark band came to be called the destruction layer. No one was exactly sure what had happened, but that layer wasn't caused by a volcano or an earthquake or warfare. None of them are capable of melting metal, mud bricks, and pottery. To figure out what could, our group used the online impact calculator to model scenarios that fit the evidence. Built by impact experts, this calculator allows researchers to estimate the many details of a cosmic impact event based on known impact events and nuclear detonations. It appears that the culprit at Tel El Hammam was a small asteroid, smaller to the one that knocked down 80 million trees in Tunguska, Russia in 1908. It would have been a much smaller version of the giant, miles-wide rock that pushed the dinosaurs into extinction 65 million years ago. And there is loads and loads of blankness. Dang it.
End of story.
What is going on here? All right, well, let's take a break. And I'll
Yeah,
finish
you know
it.
what? Hold on. I was
go ahead.
thinking,
I'm
like,
gonna
I
reload.
wonder if this will change how we are allowed to look at the vitrified forts in Scotland
Yes.
and UK,
Yeah.
because now we're this isn't accepted yet. I've been seeing people freaking out about this but you know, if something like that can happen, then it's possible that we can have another look at these vitrified buildings elsewhere around the world.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is cool. We had a likely culprit. Now we needed proof of what happened that day at Tal El Hammam. Finding diamonds in the dirt. Our research revealed a remarkably broad array of evidence. At the site, there are finely fractured sand grains called shocked quartz that only form at 725,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. Imagine 6 68-ton Abrams military tanks stacked on your thumb. The destruction layer also contains tiny diamondoids that, as the name indicates, are as hard as diamonds. Each one is smaller than a flu virus. It appears that wood and plants in the area were instantly turned into this diamond-like material by the fireball's high pressures and temperatures. Experiments with laboratory furnaces showed that the bubbled pottery and mud bricks at Tal El Hammam liquefied at temperatures above 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit, 1,500 degrees Celsius. That's hot enough to melt an automobile within minutes. The destruction layer also contains tiny balls of melted material smaller than the airborne dust particles, called spherules. They're made of vaporized iron and sand that melted at about 2,900 degrees Fahrenheit, or 1,590 degrees Celsius. In addition, the surfaces of the pottery and melt glass are speckled with tiny melted metallic grains, including iridium, with a melting point of 4,435 degrees Fahrenheit, platinum that melts at 3,215 degrees Fahrenheit, and zirconium silicate at 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit. Together, all this evidence shows that temperatures in the city rose higher than those of volcanoes, warfare, and normal city fires.
Nanodiamonds?
Yep, nanodiamonds. The only natural process left is a cosmic impact. The same evidence is found at known impact sites such as Tunguska and the Chicxulub crater, created by the asteroid that triggered the dinosaur extinction.
Except it's a cosmic airburst. That's what they're talking about, right? It's not an impact.
Yeah, the same evidence is found.
Oh, okay. All right.
One remaining puzzle is why the city and over 100 other settlements were abandoned for several centuries after this devastation. It may be that high levels of salt deposited during the impact event made it impossible to grow crops.
Wow, look at that.
This is just... We're not certain yet, but we think the explosion may have vaporized or splashed toxic levels of Dead Sea salt water across the valley. Without crops, no one could live in the valley for up to 600 years until the minimal rainfall of this desert-like climate
Washed it away.
washed the salt out of the fields.
Man.
That is freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Was there a surviving eyewitness to the blast? It's possible that an oral description of the city's destruction may have been handed down for generations until it was recorded as the story of biblical Sodom. The Bible describes the devastation of an urban center near the Dead Sea. Stones and fire fell from the sky. More than one city was destroyed. Thick smoke rose from the fires, and city inhabitants were killed. Could this be an ancient eyewitness account? If so, the destruction of Tel El Hammam may be the second oldest destruction of a human settlement by cosmic impact event after the village of Abu Huraira in Syria about 12,800 years ago.
Right.
Importantly, it may be the first written record of such a catastrophic event. The scary thing is, it almost certainly won't be the last time a human city meets this fate. Tunguska-sized airbursts, such as the one that occurred at Tel Al Hammam, can devastate entire cities and regions, and they pose a severe modern-day hazard. As of September 2021, there are more than 26,000 known near-Earth asteroids and 100 short-period near-Earth comets. One will inevitably crash into Earth. Millions more remain undetected, and some may be headed towards Earth now. Unless orbiting our ground-based telescopes detect these rogue objects, the world may have no warning, just like the people of Tel El Hammam.
Yeah, and if it's 100 feet across, I mean, you're not going to know it's there until it's here.
This is a fantastic story.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to read this at the end. This article was co-authored by research collaborators, archaeologist Phil Sylvia, geophysicist Alan West, geologist Ted Bunch, and space physicist Malcolm LeCompte. These guys are freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Dang it. It's just great.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrible.
A riveting story,
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, it's so great. This is a really well written story, and they're making the case, dude. Like, we need to pay attention.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, they're finding this. I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, this is a fantastic direction for them to go.
Yeah.
In terms of the narrative, in terms of, capturing the attention of the masses.
Yeah.
You know, let's go find cities who have been destroyed. By cosmic impacts. Like this is the second one.
Right.
Third. There's three. Because it's Jericho too.
Yeah, Jericho. Yeah. Man.
So this is a great. Yeah, it's just like, look, folks.
Yes, and it's also confirming ancient text stories, which is kind of like, carries on with the whole there was a.
But you're looking at two of these within 7,000 years.
Yeah.
And we just had, they
need to go look at those vitrified forts. That's all I'm saying.
Agreed. All right.
Yeah.
Let's take a break.
All right. Yeah. We're coming back with your emails after the break.
Wait. No physics? I went long. I went long.
Physics. That's
it's
right.
Not
There's
long.
one more physics.
It's not long.
There's
it's
one more
just
article.
thick.
Okay.
All right. We'll be back. Getting straight to the point for Grandma over here, Brothers of the Serpent podcast. And I'm going to go right here. This is from Science News. Process leading to supernova explosions and cosmic radio bursts unearthed.
Okay.
Cosmic radio bursts unearthed? Come on.
Right.
I don't understand any of it. All right.
All right.
So the This is sort of written like a paper. They do
An abstract.
And then they get into the deets. So, a promising method for producing and observing on Earth a process important to black holes, supernova explosions, and other extreme cosmic events has been proposed by scientists at Princeton University's Department of Astrophysical Sciences, SLAC National Accelerator Laboratory, and the U.S. Department of Energy's DOE Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory, PPPPL. That was one too many P's. The process, called quantum electrodynamic cascades, can lead to supernovas, exploding stars, and fast radio bursts that equal in milliseconds the energy the sun puts out in 3 days. First demonstration. The researchers produced the first theoretical demonstration that colliding a laboratory laser with a dense electron beam can produce high-density QED cascades. So the QED is...
Quantum electrodynamic.
Yes, quantum electrodynamic cascades. We show that...
QED.
Yeah, we show that... Yeah, QUED.
Yeah, it's also...
Q'd,
that's also... Keep going. That's also a Latin phrase for...
Oh.
I'll find it, yeah.
Yeah, they always do that kind of stuff, these smart guys.
Yeah.
We show that what was thought to be impossible is in fact possible, said Kenan Q.U., lead author of a paper in Physical Review Letters that describes the breakthrough demonstration. That in turn suggests how previously unobserved collective effects can be probed with existing state-of-the-art laser and electron beam technologies. The process unfolds in a straightforward manner. Colliding a strong laser pulse with a high-energy electron beam splits a vacuum into high-density electron-positron pairs that begin to interact with one another. This interaction creates what are called collective plasma effects that influence how the pairs respond collectively to electrical or magnetic fields. Plasma, the hot, charged state of matter composed of free electrons and atomic nuclei, makes up 99% of the visible universe. Plasma fuels fusion reactions that power the sun and stars, a process that PPPL and scientists around the world are seeking to develop on Earth. Plasma processes throughout the universe are strongly influenced by electromagnetic fields. The PRL paper focuses on the electromagnetic effect. The electromagnetic strength of the laser and the energy of the electron beam that the theory brings together to create QED cascades. We seek to simulate the conditions that create electron-positron pairs with sufficient density that they produce measurable collective effects and see how to unambiguously verify these effects, Q said. And his name is actually, maybe it's Q, but it's QU. The tasks called for for uncovering the signature of successful plasma creation through a QED process. Researchers found the signature in the shift of a moderately intense laser to a high frequency caused by the proposal to send the laser against an electron beam. That finding solves the joint problem of producing the QED plasma regime most easily and observing it most easily, Ku said. The amount of the shift varies depending on the density of the plasma and the energy of the pairs. This is what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, it should, but it just doesn't. Theory previously showed that sufficiently strong lasers or electric or magnetic fields could create QED pairs. But the required magnitudes are so high as to be beyond current laboratory capabilities. However, it turns out that current technology in lasers and relativistic beams that travel near the speed of light, if co-located, is sufficient to access and observe this regime, said physicist Nat Fish, professor of the astrophysical sciences and associate director of Who Cares?
Okay, so that's saying that a relativistic beam is like what you have in a particle accelerator. Massy particles accelerated to relativistic speeds. They're going 99.9999% of the speed of light, so they have a lot more mass than they normally would. And then you co-locate it with a laser so that they're basically the beams are overlapping.
Together. Okay,
Yeah.
so the key point is what he says, based on what Russ just said, is to use the laser to slow down the pairs so that their mass decreases, thereby boosting their contribution to the plasma frequency and making the collective plasma effects greater.
Okay.
Co-locating current technologies is vastly cheaper than building super intense lasers.
Right. Okay. So some of the mass of the relativistic particles is transferred to the laser beam. That's what they're talking.
Basically, yeah, I guess so.
Okay. As energy, as frequency energy, I think is what they're talking about there. So like, instead of having to build incredibly ridiculously powerful lasers, you can accelerate massive particles like you would in a particle accelerator, and then lend some of that energy to the laser beam without having to build a super powerful laser. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what they're talking about. That's
Okay.
cool. Co-location with relativistic particles. I dig it.
So they're gearing up to test the theoretical findings at Stanford University, where a moderately strong laser is being developed and the source of electron beams is already there. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. This is an ending quote from Ku. He says, like most fundamental physics, this research is to satisfy our curiosity about the universe. For the general community, one big impact is that we can save billions of dollars of tax revenue if the theory can be validated.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Now, the problem I have with this is that they're saying they found...
Well, get back on the mic there.
I'm sorry. They're saying that they found a process leading to supernova explosions and cosmic radio bursts, and that it challenges traditional theories. And then they don't say anything about that. They just start talking about building lasers and all this kind of stuff in the story, which I'm just like...
Right. So all I can do is speculate that what they mean is...
They're saying that the process happens by colliding strong laser pulse with a high-energy electron beam. It splits a vacuum into high-density electron-positron pairs that begin to interact with one another. The interaction creates what are called collective plasma effects that influence how the pairs respond collectively to electrical and or magnetic fields.
Yeah, so if a cascade event on a star can take place that can cause that to happen in mass over the entire photosphere, you end up with a fast radio burst or something like that. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Okay. So all you eclectic universe people out there,
and yeah,
they're working on it, is what
Right.
I'm saying. Like this is
Yeah.
the thing. This is what I'm talking about. These guys are working on developing ways to manipulate and deal with plasma in a lab where
Yeah.
they can, and they're talking about all of the stuff,
Right.
that the electric universe people are talking about. Like, yeah, they have interesting effects with electromagnetic fields. So like, freaking calm down.
yeah.
It's happening.
Calm down.
That's what I'm saying.
So yeah, QED also means
And this, in my opinion, this is the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
You do it, you write a freaking paper about it, and you publish it.
Yeah.
Like, here's our theory,
right.
and here's the experiment,
Yeah.
and now we're building a laser.
Yeah.
It's
right.
like-
We're
or we're building a whatever.
Yeah, we're powering up a laser using a proton beam or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is great because who knows what they're going to start finding, and then
I
maybe
know.
they'll get more funding and they'll build bigger freaking lasers, and we're going to get, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, all right. So now we're going to start messing around with plasma physics, and then
Right.
we're going to start seeing papers all about all the strange and interesting things that it does with magnets.
Yeah. Or the whole lab would just disappear into a wormhole
Yeah.
and then we can go to space.
Yeah. All right. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's move on.
So yeah, QED also is the abbreviation for the Latin phrase. I'm probably going to butcher this. Quod erat demonstrandum, which basically translates to which was to be demonstrated. But QED may appear at the conclusion of a text to signify that the author's overall argument has just been proven. So it's kind of a
Oh, these guys are
it's kind of a pretentious thing to say.
Yeah,
You're
they're
like,
like-
you finish your argument and you're like QED. Like I have
and these guys
just-
are like, hey, look, these are QED cascades.
That's
folks.
right,
They are
yeah.
self-demonstrating
That's right.
that we are right.
That's right. Exactly.
But it does challenge the standard model, which is great.
I saw another one in here. People were asking, does QED mean quite easily done? No, that's not what it means.
Quite expensively done.
Right.
It sounds more.
Quite easily done. That's great. People think it's just an internet acronym. No, yeah. All right. We still don't have the watcher yet?
I don't know.
Oh, well.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
His job.
Yep. All right.
Oh, wait, no, he's here. Look at him. There he is, lad. Just look at him, would you?
There he is. All right, cool.
He said, I said,
Hi, watcher. You got a microphone situation? You want to pop on, say what's up to the Snake Force?
I'm not recording him right now.
Oh, well,
Look at
never
me.
mind.
Look at me being on the ball.
Yeah.
We'll get you next segment
The
there,
next
buddy.
segment, watcher. We're going to totally forget. Watch. Okay. Well, we got a bunch of emails here, and I wanted to catch up before we take off for Egypt for another 2 weeks, because then we'll be farther behind. We'll be totally behind again. But here we go. This was the first one from Kyle. It's called Cephalopods. He says, "Hey there, fellow Slytherin serpents. Hope you're all doing well. I am a short-time listener. Followed the old mystic path to find you guys. First, it was Joe Rogan, then Graham Hancock on Joe Rogan, then Randall on JRE, then finally arriving parallel at Cosmographia and Brothers of the Serpent podcasts. I've been enjoying going through the back catalog, listening to the titles that pique my interest first. Currently, I'm going through the Gods of Eden book report, and I must say that I find it all so incredibly fascinating. Especially because of the fact that I am a custodian by trade." "And I can't help but appreciate the synchronicity along my own journey. Since I've become a fan of y'all, I figured I'd send an email thanking you guys for your contribution to humanity. There's never been something like this ever in the history of modern mankind, and it would be impossible to put into words exactly what that has meant to the evolution of people everywhere. You've struck the perfect balance between when it's time to be serious and when it's time to be funny, and I greatly appreciate your infectious enthusiasm for pursuing the truth. Besides all of that, I do have a question for you guys. I suppose if I could throw my hat into the ring, I would kindly ask if you guys would consider doing an entire podcast dedicated strictly to cephalopods. I understand this is a weird request, but there is something so amazing about octopuses and squids, and I think you may
agree.
share my excitement for such a topic. Just a thought I'd shoot it your way. Once again, I appreciate the hours of content and spreading the good news for the ears that may hear. Godspeed, and God bless you and yours. Cordially yours, Kyle. P.S. Stacks!"
You know, it would be really great is if we found somebody who
Let's
was
get a
like,
cepha-scientist.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just tell us all the crazy, weird things.
Yeah,
about
let's
them.
hear everything. Yes. Yeah, I'm sure we can find somebody. Yeah, that's a great
great
email.
idea.
That's a great email, Kyle. Thank you so much, buddy.
It'll never happen, but it was a great idea. It'll only happen if it's supposed to happen.
Right. What's going on now? Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. All right, hold on. We're going to do something special that you guys won't even notice, except that I just mentioned it. Okay, go ahead, Watcher.
Really strong. Okay.
Wait, stop. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go now.
So, cephalopods, I don't know if you could get material for a whole show, but 2 hours of cephas would be awesome. Like, just the evolutionary mechanisms involved. Like, most invertebrates have no myelin on their nerves, for example.
What's myelin?
Myelin is a insulator. So, like, if your nerves are wires, myelin is the insulator, and then it has these points called the nodes of Ranvier. Fucking French. Anyway, what it does is it creates points along the nerve of electrical potential difference, and so it jumps through the distance between the two nodes where it's myelinated. So invertebrates have glial cells, which are different. They don't insulate as well, but cephas don't care. They just have tons of brains all over their body. They're not really brains, but they're nerve bundles, like nerve processing centers. And they're
it's like a
all over
graphics
the
card
place.
that has its own processors built in or something?
Right. So they're like, oh, well, we can't send the signal fast enough, so let's just put processors everywhere. And that's why they're able to move and react so quickly and have active camouflage and stuff. It's freaking amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, 2 hours
So,
of
yeah.
cephas is totally doable.
I think 2 hours of Ceph is
Yeah,
definitely
it could be
doable.
done.
Yeah.
Hey, dude. Kyle, you're obviously a genius. I mean, just listen to your name. It's great. We got to do this.
All right. This is from Kevin. Pictures of petroglyphs in Utah, but there is a petroglyph, but he says I can't show it. Okay, he says, "What's up, bros?" First, a couple of thoughts. I don't remember what podcast I heard about the woman in white, but when I heard the guy talk about it, I thought of her. I think she was barefoot. Anyhow, Was in that area last week with some family, and I told them about her at Mammoth Spring, and they thought I was dreaming or something. I did not tell them about the other experiences, or they would have said I was dreaming high and crazy. Perhaps I am crazy because if it wasn't for the rain, I would have stopped on the way home and camped alone at Mammoth. A couple of edibles and 411 bots episodes in the earbuds and a long night in the woods.
Wait, is this a follow-up to his stories?
It's a follow-up, yeah. He's talking about the woman in white. We talked about it. Yeah. He says, thank God for the rain. Anyhow, I have a lot of pictures of petroglyphs from Utah, but I'm having some issues with my computer right now, but I'll be sending them your way over the next couple of days. And he says, don't dox me by posting these or sharing it, because he says, I might have been trespassing. P.S. He says, it's cool. It's cool. He says, P.S. There are 2 Kevins who email into the show. I believe the other Kevin's street cred might be damaged by the audience not knowing this. It is obvious that I have many more certificates of ignorance from many more disciplines than the other Kevin. He is coherent and I am not. He makes sense. I don't. I am an idiot and he is not. I have a PhD in idiocy and I demand the respect that entails. I demand it. Without my full name being doxed, of course. Snakes from Kevin. Thanks, buddy.
Great.
Yeah, that petroglyph picture is pretty cool.
Thank you, Dr. Kevin.
Yeah. Respect is due, buddy. Okay, so this is a follow-up from Matt, also known as Sloppy Future in the Discord. He says, hello again from Sloppy Future. First, I wanted to thank you for reading my emails on your most recent listener communications episode. It was a thrill and an honor, but this may have come at a cost. In my email, I had commented about how I enjoyed listening to the Snake Bros during work, something that I've done for months. Well, as it turns out, the very same day that this email was read on air is the day that my workplace suddenly banned earbuds.
Oh, so you were listening to it out loud.
Condemning me back to a mind-numbing day with no brain expansion.
Oh, okay. I was thinking he was listening to it out loud.
No,
and then we read his email at work and he said something.
No, they just banned everybody wearing earbuds at work. Yeah.
All right. Your cover is not blown.
That's right. Condemning me back to a mind-numbing day with no brain expansion. Hopefully, I'm the only one to succumb to the Allen curse. You fellow snakes have been forewarned. He's saying,
hey, dude. Oh, man, they ought to design some earbuds that look like hearing aids.
Yeah,
that you can just wear, and you're like, dude, my hearing aids
yeah.
Look it up, bro.
Yeah.
We support you.
Yeah, we do.
Breaking the rules.
All right, solution to the problem from the other Kevin. He says, hey, snakes, Arch Kevin here. I am almost in PT on Sods, present time. Woohoo! Which reminds me, the current in vogue way of dating old crap by saying BP before present is long-term idiocy, he says. I just finished episode 198 where someone asked what solution you guys have to the lack of integrity or quality of the scientific community. I have a workable long-term handling not only for the field of science, but also news, media, influencers, corporations, public figures, and some other stuff. Ultimately, anyone who holds power or influence over others. The solution, a scientist or expert makes a claim or a prediction. Someone reports that claim with source, and it will be saved and open until it is verified or found false, which is reported by someone. That finding, once verified, will stay connected to that scientist, and the accumulation of these results will culminate in a score for the scientist that anyone can see. The higher the score, the more that person can be trusted, and the lower, the less. This is an oversimplification, but basically there it is. By holding them individually accountable to their own claims and creating an easy-to-access memory of their track record, it will eventually force them to act with integrity or they will have no credibility. I've worked out all the details to address all the issues and concerns you are, I am sure, raising, but that is the gist of it. Snakes! Much love and cheers from Arch Kevin. Oh, and P.S. He says, I edited out about 3 times the text originally in this email because, as usual, I wrote a wall of text. The current version seems palatable, I hope. Yeah.
So wait, is he working on, like, actually presenting this in some way?
I don't know. Like, it's an interesting idea, but, like,
is this activist? Is he an activist or is he just a passive idea guy?
I think he's an idea guy. I don't know. He doesn't say he just says he's worked out all the details and he calls it a workable long-term handling solution for the field of science, but also all this other stuff, news and media and corporations, public figures.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
all right.
I think this is cool for news and media and influencers and corporations and public figures, but just science, I don't know, because to me, the power of science is getting stuff wrong and fixing it. So, I mean, if you look at somebody like Einstein, he had tons of wrong ideas, and yet he has one or two that are right, and those influence the next 100 years of science. So Einstein would have probably had a low score on this, like every scientist would. So maybe if it's relative, it would be okay. But it's like you don't want to be afraid to say things that are wrong. I think
that's the problem.
That's the problem, right? The problem is that speculation is totally out. People are not allowed to go outside of the norm.
I mean, you get destroyed for your speculation if it's outside of the norm, right?
Exactly. So I like, and the other thing about science is sometimes it takes a long time for this stuff to be confirmed as correct, right? Like think of the plate tectonics idea, how long that took, and Brett's and the other guy, they're 90 years old when they finally received the award for geology. It's like but all leading up to that, they're fighting the good fight for their ideas, and they're just ridiculed, and everybody thinks it's ridiculous. But it isn't until much later that the evidence accumulates, and people are like, okay, it's like one funeral at a time, basically. It's just, I don't know. There's something about the institutions of science that caused this to take place, and I don't know if there's anything you can do about it. I don't know. Yeah. I agree that we want to have this kind of scientific exploration be as open as possible. I don't know. Human nature just gets in the way, and egos and stuff. I don't know. Lex Friedman, I've talked about him before. He's got a great podcast in the sciences, and he very often will ask this question of the scientists he brings on: what do you think about the problem of egos in science? And how do you deal with this? And what do we do? And these people are just like, look, it's just part of the human. It's part of the human equation. It's just, you try to put together a team of like 100 of the best scientists in something, and all of them are like the best. You can imagine that there's issues having those people work together because they're all used to being like the best guy in their respective university or whatever. Now they're together with all the other best guys, but they're not used to being one of a bunch. They're used to being like the best guy, right? Yeah, it's hard, but it works. Like the LIGO project, that's what that was. There was 1,000 people, and they were the top in their fields all over the place. Engineers, physicists, theoreticians, mathematicians. And
I think the direction I would go if I was going to try to brainstorm some solution, it would be about money, right? This is where things get really corrupted. Like because some of these projects require such ridiculous amounts of money. Any scientific dig, like any dig, archaeological dig, requires a lot of money. You got to pay a lot of people. Yeah. It takes a lot of time to do it right. Using the labs to analyze all the stuff takes a lot of money. So if you're a aspiring scientist and you want to get some gig, you are driven by forces that are beyond your own particular desires, because those forces make or break your career, right? Like you either get money or you don't, and you become nobody. Or you become, that's where I think the issue is. And honestly, when I think about the issue, I just don't know how it's going to be solved, because we do want to fund publicly these big projects and spend a lot of money on trying to figure out how the universe works and all this kind of stuff. And so it's, that money comes from the realm of politics. And that gives it...
and large, well-funded or private foundations with enormous grants, or not grants, what are they called? Endowments.
Yeah.
They can be hundreds of years old.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's still politics are involved, and yeah.
But when you look at the university system and the money that the government is granting to the university systems and
it's
where they're
public
getting their
funds.
money, I mean, that's really the, these government grants.
Yeah.
And it's complicated, but when you know what they want researched and you know what they don't want researched, in other words, the people with the money, what do? You go research stuff they don't want researched.
Right.
You don't get paid.
You don't get paid.
You don't even ever get to use. Even if you're a person who's like really thinking along, outside the bounds of the standard model, and you're driven to certain ideas. It's like, are you going to get funding for any of that? Like, not likely.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know what the solution is, but I think that's where the real problems are.
Yeah.
These systems are captured, right? The science has been captured.
Yeah. And it also is, it's in certain ways, it's gotten beyond like the lone wolf in his, in his garage lab.
Yes.
Yeah. Like you need billions of dollars to build gigantic machines. Now some people might say, well, what if you don't? That's exploring standard model physics, and they're building these bigger and bigger particle accelerators, or like they're co-locating powerful lasers with, heavy particle beams, right? It's like, are there huge advances to be made by the guy in the garage still? That's a question. Like the question of like
well, there definitely is in terms of archaeology, because you don't have to be not your garage, but in your backyard.
It could be below your garage. You could find the interest to
It could be in your garage, digging underneath the concrete.
Right.
That's
You
true.
might add a cellar and find another, Darren QU.
Oh God, I want to be that guy.
I know. Well, I appreciate that, Kevin. Not to be confused with the other Kevin.
Yeah.
Both Kevins have street cred, in my opinion, though. They're both great. So thanks, guys. And yeah, it's something to think about. I think we should all think about it. I don't know if there's a permanent solution, though. But I actually do think your solution sounds great for non-scientists, like all the stuff you were saying, like media and corporations. And yeah. And we kind of have that. Like there are rating things, but, people.
That's all rapidly changing, too.
Right, it
because of
is.
the internet.
Yeah, it is.
The way we consume media, but.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We're up on a break.
Oh,
so
okay. Let's take a break.
Take a break.
Yeah. We'll be back. Snacks! We are back, ladies and gentlemen, Brothers of the Serpent podcast, second hour, fastest 2 hours in podcasting, and 30% or 33%, whichever one you like better, brain expansion guaranteed. And we are going through listener emails.
And as Ann pointed out, brain expansion causes cooling. So if you are a hothead, listen to the show. It'll help you out and just calm you down.
Calms you down.
When you start feeling that calmness, that is your brain expanding.
That is your brain expanding. That's correct. All right, so this one is from Bob. It's got a couple of questions in here. It's called "Why the Caves?" So he says, "Snakes. I just thought of something. Two things actually. First, several, or maybe far more, cave systems exist that seemingly can't be dated. Has anyone tried to tie these different systems to the Younger Dryas? Just thinking that maybe surviving humanity had to retreat underground to survive." I think he may be talking about like Darren Q, like made caves, like man-made.
Okay.
And there's also the Ajanta cave. I can never get the names right. There's a bunch of them in India. Yeah. Yeah. Just thinking that maybe surviving humanity had to retreat underground to survive. The caves exist, but has there been any attempt to tie them to a defense mechanism? And secondly, has anyone mapped the megalithic sites around the world? I'd like to know how far from the equator they exist. Maybe nothing. I'm just wondering if there might be some evidence showing the Younger Dryas may have knocked Earth off of a vertical axis. Thank you, from Bob.
There's a really good diagram of some of these megalithic sites, especially ones that contain the Cyclopean architecture. And it's about the pyramid. It's called Revelations of the Pyramid.
Yes. Yep.
And that is a great show.
Yes.
I think it's like 2 hours long. If you can find it,
Yep.
watch that.
And they have a new one, too, that we need to watch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the next one that came out. They actually contacted me. Yes, they contacted me about... they did. One of the producers was like, hey, you got an Ancient Mystery show. You know, we made... They talked to Ben, too.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, am I holding the snake facts
All right.
back? Sorry. Yeah.
Tell me all about it.
I know. I need to get back with them. I'd like to get their director on the show.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So they made another one, a follow-up to Revelation.
Oh, man. All right, watch both of them. I want to go watch that one.
Yeah.
I wish I could watch it tonight, but I can't.
Yeah.
Maybe I can watch it on the
So those are
plane.
good. As for the, if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, in other words, the man-made cave systems like the Hypogeum, the Darren Kuyu, the stuff in Turkey, the stuff possibly in India, I don't think anyone is tying those to the Younger Dryas. It's tough to date that kind of thing. But if you're interested in for example, the Hypogeum, I suggest you read Underworld by Graham Hancock, which is a book that I plan on doing a book report on the podcast in the near future.
All right.
Because that's
got
as
all
far
these
as I can
snake
tell.
facts in
Yeah,
there.
Underworld is. I consider it to be part of the series from Fingerprints of the Gods, and then it goes to Underworld, and then it goes Magicians, and then to America Before. But Underworld is still not available as an audiobook, and it's a fantastic book of his attempts to dive around the world, and also he does a lot of looking at... Of course, he goes to Malta, and he looks for underwater temples, but there's a lot of details in there about the Hypogeum, and it's possible that thing is much older than they think. And of course, Graham is attempting to tie certain things to what he considered to be a cataclysm that ended an Ice Age civilization. So yes, you can look at that. Or wait for the book report, because we'll be doing one soon. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Man, I'm excited for the future, folks.
Brothers of the Serpent podcast. Okay. So we got an excellent note here from a dude named Daniel.
Dude named Daniel.
Yeah. Thank you for your courage. It says regarding episode number 213, I am a Scientologist. So I believe let's look that up. 213 would be.
Oh man, is he mad at me?
One of the Marty-sodes. 213 UFOs Part 5, a history of unlikely coincidences. I don't think he's mad. He's just giving his perspective here. So he says, brothers, I wanted to say I friggin' love your show. I found you guys last year, and you kept me sane during lockdowns. Eagerly awaited every new episode, and I got my wife listening too. We love diving into these mysteries together. I've always been fascinated by alternate history, cryptids, UFOs, secret societies, etc. So, to find a podcast so well produced, amazing music, great hosts, I was hooked. Man, thank you, buddy. Yeah. But I just wanted to send, not but, he says, just wanted to send a comment about.
There's a but in there.
There's a but in here somewhere. I just wanted to send a comment about episode 213. I am a Scientologist, and I am definitely not involved in Hollywood. While there are a lot of salacious stories about Scientology, personally, I found them all to be embellished or outright false, and really not as interesting as the subject itself. For example, Hubbard's research into past lives and past life memory, or his development of a workable science of ethics. As another point of interest regarding Manson, I've seen many sources try to play up the Scientology angle because how juicy, but Manson couldn't have been a high-level, quote-unquote, Scientologist. I've been fascinated
with that either.
I've been fascinated with Manson on and off, and it seems that he read some Scientology books while in prison in 1961 and likely had some Scientology counseling probably after his release from prison in 1968, but that's about it. Manson was a heavy and active drug user, including LSD. But in order to receive Scientology counseling, you cannot be an active drug user. It is an absolute, unequivocal requirement. LSD is particularly problematic. The short reason being it interferes with the processes used. Not to mention, Manson was a flagrant criminal who was in and out of prison during his life, not really someone who would be able to dedicate himself to the study of the subject. So it just doesn't add up. Anyway, I don't know if you'll find any of that interesting, but as an avid listener, I thought I'd pass it along. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think you guys would actually find the subject interesting. Love and lit from a dude named Daniel.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, man, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
The insider's view of a, regular old dude named Daniel from inside Scientology. That's cool. I think one of the Kevins is also a Scientologist. So we do get the perspective from you guys. I really appreciate that. And Kyle, again, what was the Chaos?
Chaos, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He didn't I don't think he made any connections to Scientology with Manson.
So Marty did. So that's the
Marty did.
So what he's talking about is Marty bringing up the connection, a possible connection between Manson and Scientology. And this is, some of these connections don't pan out. That's how it is. Sometimes they're tenuous. So yeah, I really appreciate the report there. And I do have Hubbard's what is it? The Dianetics stuff. So I'm gonna dig into that. I don't think I'll become a Scientologist, but I am gonna dig into the idea. I have since found that quite a few, shall I say, science fiction authors and or editors that I highly respect were very interested in Hubbard's ideas. So I'll be looking into it. So I appreciate that.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I mean, you can, but
you can.
It's a bad idea. Yeah.
Shouldn't do it.
Right.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna nail me because I went on a riff and I was all like bent out of shape about occult practices. Just
No. This is before that. This is not a response to Indistinguishable from Magic, but a response to the first of the last two History of Unlikely Coincidences with Marty.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. From, let's see, Lucas. Demonic Summoning, a quick thank you. From Lucas.
Lucas, yes.
Greetings, brethren of the Serpent and the one called Marty. This communication is to express gratitude for your summoning me into corporeal form during what you call episode 213. However, I feel the need to also let you know that due to the slight grammatical error made by Russ during the invocation, one of my horns is missing, 3 of the pipes on my flute are way out of tune, and my left hoof seems to be on backwards. Of course. Do not worry, though. You have my word as an ancient deity forced into existence via a sacred demonic ritual that I will not seek revenge, and nothing bad will befall you in the very, very near future. Actually, forget I even mentioned anything. Needless to say, since being back, I have been in touch with some old friends, and the 5th, 6th, and 1/3 of the 7th circle have now been broken. Kind regards, Pan, god of everything a little bit naughty. Jesus. P.S. The search for both the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper is well underway. P.P.S. Snakes! Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Lucas. Appreciate that. I love these kinds of emails. Okay. This one is from Matt. It's called Unbridled Rage. Hiss.
Oh, Watcher says there's a Ghostbusters reference.
Yeah. The Gatekeeper. The Keymaster and the Gatekeeper is a Ghostbusters reference. I actually knew that one, right? Yeah.
Russ does.
I know that one. Yeah.
I haven't watched them.
Yeah, Rick Moranis was the Keymaster.
Okay.
See, I even know the name of the guy who was the Keymaster. Like, that never happens. Okay.
Watcher's giving you kudos, man.
Nicely
proud of you.
done. Yeah, he's proud of me. All right, so this is called Unbridled Rage from Matt. He says, Dear Serpent Folk, I would like to express my deep dissatisfaction at the quality of the latest episode. It was just too good. Now I have to wait a whole week to hear the follow-up so I can experience some further brain expansion. I have been checking my podcast app 3 times a day, hoping for early delivery of the next installment. So he's talking about the same 2 episodes, the Marty-sodes.
Okay.
Because everybody knew that we recorded them both on the same day, and they're like, come on, give it to us fast, give it to us early. And nope. Waited the whole week. So he says, keep up the snaky goodness. And P.S., have the names of the documentaries mentioned by your guest been posted anywhere? Yours in anticipation from Matt. Yes, Matt. Marty, known as Overkill in the Discord chat, has been posting lots and lots of follow-up information, documentary links, images, all that stuff, books, sources. So yeah, if you're interested in diving into this topic more and even talking to Marty, you can get into the Discord. And I do ask people, I should throw this in there about the chats. Quite a few of the people that we have on our show as guests end up in our Discord. And I would appreciate it if everyone else in the Discord, if you want to talk to the guests, that's fine. But do it in the open chat. They don't need to be deluged with a million private messages. Just talk to them in the open chat about whatever the topic is. Have a conversation with them that everybody else can be involved in as well. So yeah, don't.
That's good policy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good policy. That way the guests can stay engaged in the chat rooms and not just disappear because they're just getting tons of private messages from people. So anyway, I'm not saying you're doing that, Matt, but yes, you can join the Discord and talk to Marty directly, openly though, not in private messages. Okay. Let's see.
Be nice in the chats, folks.
That's right. Be nice in the chats. All right. This is called Observations on Episodes 128 through 131. Approved for On the Air. From Davey. I believe those are the Giza Power Plant episodes.
Okay.
He says, greetings, brothers of the Serpent. I hope this missive finds you well. I have some thoughts on the Giza pyramids as a power station. As I know nothing and I can prove it,
Drop my phone.
I offer this for consideration by the Snake Force at large. First, the doors in the passages in the Queen's Chamber look to me like tuning slugs for fine-tuning the resonator. So I think he's talking about the block, what they call the Gantenbrink's door, and the other one in the shafts of the Queen's Chamber. They look like tuning slugs for fine tuning. Like if you could move them up and down and change the resonance. Is that what he's talking about?
Is he talking about the little worn out copper?
He's just saying the door itself in the shaft. If you moved it, is that what he's saying?
Yeah, it would tune the chamber.
Yeah.
Like the whole tunnel would get
Right.
a higher pitch if you shortened the tunnel.
Yeah.
A lower pitch if you lengthened it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what he's saying. They look like tuning slugs for fine tuning the resonator.
It's a great observation.
So the only problem that I'm aware of, and this may not actually be a problem, is that at least Gantenbrink's door appears to be set into it can't slide down any farther than it is.
If it's in
so
a
if it is a
sockle or
tuning, it's
something.
all the way down. It's tuned all the way down to the bottom possible tuning.
Maybe it fell because the things attaching it to the
broke. Yeah,
they broke.
You're right. Maybe those things are like holding cables, and you can
it
twist
just-
something.
They
and
just
it's-
broke off and it just slid all the way down.
Yeah,
Pyramid doesn't work anymore.
it doesn't work. Right.
Can't tune it.
He says, second, is it possible that an arc-like device is part of the system and fits in the coffer? Yeah, that's possible. I mean, it does seem like Dunn talked about the coffer itself being a kind of a lens, which is an interesting idea. Like that the granite itself would work as a lensing for the microwaves. But yeah, there could have been other devices in there. Who knows? And third, if the Giza site is a power plant, is it built by the lowest bidder to the minimum spec requirements, like we do with our power plants? So, the pyramids are not their best construction, just the toughest. I'm working my way through your podcast, and I really enjoy them. As an old guy with my own Reynolds aluminum hats, tinfoil hats, that's a great way to put it. I've been studying most of this off and on since the 1970s. Your open-mindedness and diligence is refreshing and admirable. Keep up the good works, and by all means, keep laughing. Signed, Davey.
Thank you, Davey.
Yeah, and these are great ideas. I love it. Yeah, is it built by the lowest bidder to the minimum spec?
Classic construction guy. He knows what's going on.
Yeah, that Johnson's been on a few jobs.
But yeah, I love the tuning idea. That's really cool.
Yeah. God, there's just the Snake Force just has so many great ideas.
Yeah.
It's so cool to hear from you guys. And, and of course, it's always fun to like get this new Serapeum ideas and we just shoot them down on air. Keep them coming. Okay.
The last one.
What?
The last one.
Oh, the last one was asking about leveling, and is that what you're talking about?
Well, that one, that was
a good one
couldn't
too,
shoot
yeah.
that one down.
No.
I actually bought, I bought a couple of devices to check that. So hopefully I won't be able to check it incredibly accurately, but I'll be able to get a basic idea. Like if they're way off, I'll know.
Yeah.
So I'm on it, buddy.
Right.
Whoever
Yes,
you were.
That's right. And the black lights, right?
Got black lights.
Black
too.
lights.
We just happened to get black lights.
Yeah.
And yeah. Shh. Don't.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody. We're covert archaeology over here. Just, that's it. All right. This is from... All right. This is from FT Mike. It's called Massive Sync Storm. You want to get your synchronicity rating out here?
Yeah. Well, I'll be a stand-in for Darren.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Dear Snake Bros, greetings from the other side of the world. Short-time listener, first-time caller here. I am currently in the midst of a sync storm and thought you might like to hear about the role your podcast has played in it. First, let me apologize for being just a casual listener who contributes nothing, money or otherwise, to your podcast. But if goodwill could be converted into currency, then I would be a major donor. Hey, man, no problem. Time, talent, and treasure. Time or talent or treasure, and you're sending in an email. It's great. I've been an expat for nearly 2 decades now and have recently taken up playing guitar. I love it. And I have found some like-minded people to play with. We've got a band and we play shambolic punkish garage. We're just getting started and have nothing recorded, but plan to play shows just as soon as the COVID restrictions are lifted. I learned how to play on a guitar loaned to me by a musician friend who taught me some rudiments and patiently sat with me in some jam sessions. But recently he asked for that guitar back for recording purposes, and I found myself out of a guitar. I'm on a limited budget and had no idea where to start the search for a new one, as I'd never been particularly interested in guitars until I started to play. Even now, I'm only mildly interested in what kinds of guitars other people play. But then, lo and behold, I find there's a company in Japan that makes good quality knockoffs of famous models. So I managed to locate a used one for sale and get it at a price I'm happy with. The new guitar sounds great, and it is exactly what I needed. The guitar maker has taken their name from the god of wine, which is cool, and also where it starts to get weird. I lived in Japan for a decade and had a band over there. Didn't play any instruments at the time. My job was to yell at people. We were a punk band. After the demise of that band, I wanted to start another project, but had no one to play with. I had a name for it, though. Bacchanalians. It has a double meaning when transliterated into Japanese, and I just love drinking wine. I stashed the name for future use, and I think that time might be coming soon. Exactly one day after I buy this Bacchus guitar, I open up my podcast app, and what do I see? Brothers of the Serpent, episode 212, The God of Wine. So I listen, and I learn some things that open my eyes. For example, I learned that one of the symbols of the God of Wine is the panther. As I type this, my 16-year-old black cat lies sleeping next to me. I've called her my Black Panther since she was a kitten, and she's more like a familiar than an ordinary house cat.
Name your band Pantera.
I also learned that the God of Wine is often depicted wearing the skin of a leopard. The guitar strap I received when I got that first guitar was a leopard skin strap. It's pretty beat up, so last year for my birthday, my wife surprised me with another strap, leopard, of course. I'm pretty sure there was something about turning into a goat in the story too. I'm a ram, astrologically speaking, and the Bacchanalia itself, frenzied music, drunkenness, and cynical attitudes towards authority. That describes us pretty well. So what do you think? Synchronicity or ordinary coincidence? It doesn't feel ordinary. The details are just the tip of the iceberg with all the weird things that are happening around us at the moment. A ghost, a dog bite, a death, and lots of smaller weirdnesses are all around me and my crew these days. If you've had any experience with syncs piling up like this, you know that these things don't always end well for the people involved. But quitting is not an option, so all I can do is buckle up and hope for the best. This is nothing but a hobby band, and we have zero expectations of ever making any money off of it, but all four of us feel that we can do something significant for the city we live in and the next generation of misfits looking for some kind of outlet or connection with something bigger. So keep up the good work, Snake Bros. If this band ever doesn't make any money, I'll kick a bit down, and thanks for all the great content. Ave Serpientes and Ave Bacchus. Signed, FT Mike.
All right, I'm not going to do it, Darren. I think those are just going to give you a 10.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's like, it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
Right? And to me, it's like, you're on the path. Like,
right.
That's what, if that had happened to me, I would be like, I'm on the path. Which means that, like, this is what I should be doing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to keep pursuing it.
Yeah.
And I'll just throw in that I had a synchronicity with the God of Wine. And so I'm going to make a recommendation to you, my friend, that you get the audiobook. What is it called now? I forgot. The key, something key.
Oh, the Immortality Key.
The Immortality Key. Listen to that book, because that's what happened. Like right after we did the God of Wine thing, and like I was thinking of all these connections and stuff. We talked about it later on the podcast, and then there was, Ty gave me access to his Audible account.
Yeah.
He's like, I got tons of credits in there, man. Just get books. So I text him like, hey, how about this one? He's like, yeah, I get it. So I get the Immortality Key and listen to it, and it's all about the God of Wine.
Wait, you mean Ty actually did something cool? Is that what you're saying right now?
Yeah, bro.
Wow.
It was pretty cool.
All right. It's like the first time in like 5 years. Okay. Hey, I'll put it down. Put it down in the book.
Ty, it's like, Ty, I don't have to buy movies. I don't have to buy CDs. I never had to buy any of that stuff because Ty always bought all of them and then gave me copies.
Right. Yeah.
In whatever fashion those copies came in back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like, he just like, I just sign into his accounts. And I mean, it's like, it's awesome. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Video games, game systems, consoles, whatever. It's like,
yeah.
So.
And hey, listen, I'll tell you about our experiences with synchronicity storms and the path and what you said.
But he doesn't listen to the show anymore. So, you know what? Fuck that guy.
Right. That's why I'm saying I got to give him shit. But back to Mike about synchronicities and being on the path, and also the possibility that stuff can turn bad. Like you said, sometimes it doesn't turn out good for the people in these situations. Well, in our experience with really strong synchronicity paths, you always, well, I won't say you always, but it seems with us that you start seeing all these synchronicities, and to us, we're like, wow, that means we're doing something right. This is the right thing. We're on the right path. And then these obstructions start popping up everywhere.
Crazy negative things.
Like negative things, right? And you just, dude, push through that shit, because it does, they have
been so hard, too.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Some of it is really hard to deal with, but in the end, if you persevere and the syncs continue, it ends up working out, and you can get past those obstacles. But yeah, don't let the obstacles discourage you, man.
Yeah, so in
I
other
guarantee
words,
you, if you're having a serious sync storm, that obstacles will start popping up. Push through them, because the syncs are there to tell you to push through the obstacles.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And likewise, the other way, the obstacles show up, and that also tells you that you were on the right path.
Something is trying to
is trying to stop it from happening.
Right. Pay no attention to the obstacles in your path.
Except that they sort of.
I mean, you have to pay attention to them, but yeah. I'm just saying, push through them.
Well, yeah.
Knock
So
them down.
So we've had each other to
Yeah,
bounce
yeah.
these ideas off of in that process, and it's been like, man, what is it? And you know, that support is just like, yeah, dude, you know what? It sort of guides our way of dealing with the obstacles too. Because like we're on the path.
Yeah.
So how do we deal with the obstacles thinking that we are on the path, right? Like, because if the obstacles just showed up in everyday life and there was no synchronicity backing up your path, then you may deal with it in a certain way. But when you're looking at it in the light of like all these synchronicities, it causes you to kind of like, oh, maybe I should just deal with it this way. And like,
yeah. That's right. Yeah. And to have like a certain amount of faith that if you just keep persevering, that you will overcome those obstacles. And that's so far what's happened to us.
Yeah.
It gives it's almost like the sinks prepare you to run into these problems in such a way where you'll overcome them if you're looking at it in the right way.
And illegitimus non carborundum.
There you go. That's it. Look that one up. Okay. And Watcher had some good stuff too. He says his theory is that in all other versions of life, this is a major event where they converge, like possibly other paths converge. All roads converge where you must choose. The difficulties cause the threads of fate to unravel and scatter again. That's cool. Interesting idea there. Okay, so this is from, let's see, make sure I got this is from Patty. She says, have fun in Egypt. Hi, guys. I've been meaning to email you guys for a while now. So happy I found your podcast. I've been following Graham Hancock for years now. From him, I was introduced to Randall when they both first appeared on the Joe Rogan Show. And after that, I found Cosmographia, Uncharted X, and a bunch of other very intelligent people. And I must confess, I did not want to check out your podcast when I first heard of you guys because, well, I'm terrified of snakes. And in all good conscience, I could not push myself to listen to a podcast that was probably going to be devoted to snakes. That's what I was thinking. But I kept watching Cosmographia and very quickly realized I had to check you guys out. Maybe it was not all about snakes. And oh my God, once I listened the first time, I was hooked. You guys are smart and funny and kind and definitely know your stuff. Thank you for what you guys do. Wow. Thank you so much for giving us a chance there. And we need more snake facts. She says, I decided to start listening from the beginning, but then I jumped to the most recent episode because I didn't want to miss anything. But then I went back because I wanted to know it all. So now I'm all over the place. Currently listening to the Gods of Eden episodes. You guys, plus Laura, love her, and The Watcher do an amazing job, and I am learning so much. And I loved the Epic of Gilgamesh episodes. Couldn't stop laughing. I listened to that one in portions while driving my daughter to school. She's 8, and she loved it. Wow, that's awesome. So now she says, about Egypt.
Report.
About Egypt. I've been lucky enough to have visited Egypt twice, 2008 and 2012, and hopefully I will be able to join you guys in 2022. I've already contacted Darren to be added to the trip when the itinerary is finalized. Yes!
Very good, yes.
The 2012 trip I did with Robert Baval and Yusuf. And Yusuf was our guide. You were going to love having Yusuf as a guide in October. I was so happy to hear you guys are finally going. Yusuf took us around the Giza Plateau. We crawled through tunnels, etc., etc. It was an amazing time with very low crowds. The day before the tour was about to start, my friend and I went to explore the Great Pyramid. No crowds, so we had the King's Chamber all to ourselves. I made the mistake of lying in the sarcophagus. I don't know what happened, but I didn't feel good afterwards. It was like my body had absorbed whatever bad energy was floating around. Anyway, it was weird. But before you enter the King's Chamber, please take a moment to hang out in the antechamber, where you will notice the grooves from the portcullis system. You are inside a machine. It is amazing. I read Dunn in the early 2000s, and I believe he is right.
Yes, I plan on definitely measuring all the wainscoting.
That's right, and maybe digging out a few slots. About the wine, I enjoy when you guys talk about the grapes. Growing up in Mexico, I worked in the fields picking grapes, and yes, I hated it. It was hard work, hot, and sometimes you'd find a snake hanging out just to surprise you as you're about to cut the grapes. It never happened to me, thank God. For some reason, they do stay away from me, and I truly appreciate them for that. Sorry this ended up being a long email, and I went all over the place sometimes. I just want you guys to know that what you are doing matters. It is amazing and very much appreciated. Have an amazing time in Egypt. Thank you, from Patty. And P.S. No, I will not say snakes. LOL.
Thank you, Patty. That's awesome.
That's a great email. Been to Egypt twice.
In fact, you know what? You love snakes, Patty. You always have.
You just said it over and over that you love snakes.
Because the snake is the symbol of knowledge.
That's right.
And you obviously have been pursuing it.
That's right. Okay. Let's see. What do we got?
And the watcher thinks that the reason why you felt bad was mercury vapor. So we'll just leave it at that.
Could be. So what's the what time we got?
We're out of time. And
out
we will be
of
right back.
time. There we go.
Snakes! And we are back, Brothers of the Serpent podcast, with 33% of our brains tied behind our backs, just to make it square. And continuing on with the listener communications.
That's right.
I love doing these episodes.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
So we got two emails here from Lewis. And Lewis, they're both good. Both long, so I can only do one. Can't do both, so I'm gonna pick this one. But I can just let people know the other one is he's skirping the Phoenix UFOs and some other UFO stuff. But I'll read this one. Props for the bots is what this one's called, from Lewis. Brothers of the Serpent. Greetings from Zemog of the Hill People, a Gen Xer type, dropping in some props for the Brothers of the Serpent. I started exposing my lobes to the Brothers of the Serpent-driven mind expansion last November, and having survived the explosive mind expansion, I recently sent a few emails, like the many by following the podcast/YouTube trail of intellectual popcorn from the likes of Ancient Origins, Uncharted X, Geocosmic Rex, Cosmographia. I found my way into the Snake Bros 10x10 tangent cube of wisdom and brain expansion. For me, indulging in a Brothers of the Serpent podcast has become akin to a safe, deep, and reliable trip down Mushroom Lane. Yeah. I have been something of a skirpy adventurer since my youth in the early 70s, when I was exposed to Catholic cataclysm, which was fortunately counterbalanced by a healthy...
Catechism?
Cataclysm.
Catholic?
Catholic cataclysm. That's what he says.
Okay.
Maybe he means catechism. I don't know.
Yeah, I would think Catholic
cataclysm is what he says, which was fortunately counterbalanced by a healthy dose of Peabody and Sherman, Johnny Quest, and Star Trek. A little later in the mid-70s, I discovered a bitchin' set of encyclopedias at my aunt's house from which the ancient ruins of the Americas, Mediterranean, and Mesopotamia beckoned me into their labyrinthine warren. In the late 70s, I got my booster shot in the brain for science from Carl Sagan's Cosmos, which was my intro into geology and catastrophism, followed by the Voyager Grand Tour and access to Landsat imagery. In the early 80s came the Alvarez Layer and William Fix's Pyramid Odyssey, both of which blew my mind wide open, and I began my questioning of the dogmatic narratives that often pass as science. A lot of UFO and alien trends developed out of the 70s and 80s, along with many sweet dubbed Chinese kung fu movies and good tunes. Were you going to say something about the Carl Sagan?
Well, yeah, that was a big influence on Randall as well.
Yeah, it was
Sagan.
Cosmos. Yeah.
Yeah.
In high school, following this Sagan-inspired brain expansion, I wanted to be a geologist, but instead ended off in the military repairing aerial sensors, followed by a career in the aerospace industry. While my military and aerospace career carried me to some intriguing locales, including Central America and 8 years in Egypt, my bunny holes tended to be military and aerospace stuff. Around 2016, I ended my aerospace career and quickly lost interest in the military and aerospace stuff. As I drifted back into spirituality, geology, astronomy, and the origins of man, the path eventually led me to the likes of Carlson, Hancock, Van Kerwin, the Ancient Origins crew, and the Brothers of the Serpent.
Wow.
When it comes to the reorienting my mind, the Brothers of the Serpent, to me, have surpassed all the others. The brothers bring it like no others with their unique West Texan brand of humility, wittiness, intelligence, and depth of knowledge as they cannonball, nay, festively belly flop into and stir up the deep pools of forbidden topics and knowledge that are passed off as science or are dogmatically denied as such. The down-to-earth, intelligent manner in which the brothers explore, expand upon, and dissect those topics with their illuminating brand of high-level scholarism makes me feel as though I am an active participant, or maybe just a slack-jawed participant in the conversation rather than simply listening to a podcast. Pure mana for the inquiring mind in me, which has been skeptically modulated since the early 70s by watching so much of what I was taught and expected to believe be overturned or unmasked before me. So, much heartfelt thanks to the Brothers of the Serpent for the multi-dimensional mind expansion and brain reprogramming assistance. One day soon, I hope to get my swimming license and enter the deep end of the pond.
Wow.
Safe travels to you guys getting to and from Egypt with Ben, and have fun slithering through the ruins. But do not cause too much trouble crossing over, as you will be snakes on a plane. P.S. Have a gander down the shaft at Saqqara. It was closed when I lived there in the 90s. The subterranean structures under that pyramid look like a proper case of technological overfit. In its original Zep Tepi megalithic form, it certainly must have played a major role in what was going on up on the Giza Plateau. To me, it looks more like a candidate for a power plant than anything up at Giza. Snakes! From Zmog.
Thank you, buddy. Man,
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'll try to save.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, I'll try to save your other email, Phoenix UFO Skirpness, because he's coming from the aerospace industry and he wants to talk about like, hey, there's all these, secret military projects and stuff. So it's a good one. It's really long though. And
want to do that with we're gonna do a Marty.
Yeah, maybe we can do it with Marty. Yeah.
We're gonna do a Marty random sode.
I'll try to keep it marked here. Make sure I do it. Okay, let's see. This is from... Ooh, there's another long one. This is from Dan. And it's called Theory of Massive Topographical Change. Snake Bros, I didn't remember that I intended to split the email I sent you guys until I heard you read it on the listener communications episode, and then I realized, to my horror, that I had forgotten to actually follow up. So I'll keep this part short so I can include my working theory at the end. I just wanted to say it was super cool hearing you guys read my letter on the podcast, and y'all's reaction to my book idea was epic. Kyle, I hear you, buddy, and I was thinking 7 books for the series, though 7 trilogies sounds even better.
Yes.
Ross, as a fellow Wheel of Time fan, I have to say I'd love to try and fill Robert Jordan's shoes, as daunting as that task seems. I had originally planned to set it in a post-apocalyptic future, but I love the idea of making it alternative history, and have been exploring the idea, so thanks for the notes. On that topic, the latest UFO episode with Marty was amazing, and I'm deep diving the concepts behind Enochian magic so as to include it in my tales. Okay. I love the idea of magic being subtle and difficult and dangerous to meddle with. Okay, on to my theory. I had a bit of an epiphany while studying the USGS bathymetric maps and thinking about how Atlantis didn't just flood, but its crust sank along with the entire seafloor into the mantle. My theory has to do with the Piri-Reis map and its supposed inaccuracy concerning the shape of the point where South America and Antarctica meet. Now, to be fair, this isn't completely my theory, since it was Randall Carlson who opened my eyes to the severity of the topographic changes that occurred during the transition from the Pleistocene to the Holocene, and that those changes could be searched for using a certain geological feature. Specifically what I call triple point faults, a place in the crust where 3 fault lines converge. Mm-hmm. This is a bit complex, but I know you guys love complexity, so here it goes. 1. The North Pole during the Pleistocene was near the center of Hudson Bay. 2. Tracking this difference in location and mirroring the change in position to the South Pole puts the Pleistocene South Pole in the ocean halfway between Antarctica and Australia. And 3. This implies that nearly half of Antarctica, the portion along the Atlantic, would have been ice-free during the Pleistocene. 4, with half of Antarctica ice-free, its crustal plate would have been sitting higher on the mantle than it is now due to isostasy. And 5, it is known that Hudson Bay is slowly undergoing isostatic rebound from the deglaciation about 13,000 years ago. And 6, it is therefore possible that what is now the Palmer Peninsula was connected to Patagonia via a long curving land bridge. And 7, with the vast majority of the floodwaters from the deglaciation flowing into the Atlantic, it could have overtopped this land bridge, filling the Pacific Ocean with the excess meltwater, and this land bridge could have suffered the same sudden catastrophic subsidence as Atlantis did, since the land here is also a point where multiple faults meet. 8. This would have impacted the Pacific worse than the Atlantic because it's much bigger, meaning the isostatic depression of the Pacific floor would be more extreme, resulting in the extreme modern depth of the ocean between South America and Antarctica. 9. The Piri-Reis map has been debunked because the tip of South America doesn't connect to Antarctica as shown on the map. And 10. This argument is made in bad faith because nobody has taken isostasy and polar shift into account. And 11. Close examination of seafloor maps reveal detailed versions of Pleistocene coastlines. 12. Superimposing the Piri-Reis map over a modern seafloor map shows a nearly perfect match to the shape of the ancient South American coastline and formations that could definitely have been above water during the Pleistocene. 13. One of those formations is an arc of islands between Argentina and Antarctica that look like giant streamlined erosional features on the edge of what I hypothesize are the remnants of the coastline of the ancient land bridge. 14. This also matches what Plato says in the Timaeus. Quote, there was an island situated in front of the straits, which are by you called the Pillars of Heracles. The island was larger than Libya and Asia put together and was the way to other islands. And from these you might pass to the whole of the opposite continent which surrounded the true ocean. For this sea, which is within the Straits of Heracles, is only a harbor, having a narrow entrance, but that other is a real sea, and the surrounding land may be most truly called a boundless continent." Unquote. 15. If the Piri-Reis map is correct and North America, South America, and Antarctica were one long contiguous landmass, not to mention Asia being connected via Beringia, then the true ocean would be the Atlantic, and the opposite continent which surrounded the true ocean could be describing the long continuous coastline from North America to Antarctica, which could certainly be described as surrounding the ocean. Whew. So, I know that's a lot, but the basic idea is that Atlantis probably isn't the only part of the world that collapsed into the ocean during the cataclysmic end of the Pleistocene. However, as I read, reread, and edit it over and over again, I realized I left one part out. The pole shift and the impact. I think both happened, and indeed I think the impact and sudden melt-off caused the poles to shift. The impact in the northern hemisphere is a certainty in my mind at this point, but a simultaneous pole shift is the only way to explain the deglaciation of India and New Zealand, Tasmania, and the fact that Siberia, Beringia, and Alaska were temperate at the time but has since shifted into the Arctic. Some thoughts that occurred as I was writing this. The idea of northern Antarctica being ice-free could also point to an ancient peopling of Antarctica, which, along with a sunken land bridge, could help explain the genetic disparity between the ancient populations of North and South America. Also, the extreme isostatic depression of the Pacific Ocean would help explain the crazy upthrust of the Andes and the geological instability of the entire Ring of Fire. I won't even mention Lemuria, which was supposedly in the middle of the Pacific, even though there are several triple fault points in the Pacific, including one near Easter Island, but it could almost certainly fit into this theory of massive topographical change. Wow. So, okay, that's more than enough for now. Let me know if any of this is overly confusing and I'll try to clarify. I'm thoroughly confused myself and it's my theory. And just as with my last letter, it would be a great pleasure for you to read it on air or on the podcast recording or whatever. You get my meaning. So thanks again for all the amazing podcasts. Dan from Houston. P.S. Snakes! That's
Man,
detailed,
I love
buddy.
it, dude.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, okay, couple of problems. If you're going to use this idea in a book, well then, like the reason why I stray from the pole shift idea in the Younger Dryas period is because I think the Sphinx and the pyramids are older possibly than that period, right? They were either built before the cataclysm or maybe, I mean, if they were built right after, that would make more sense because they are they're aligned to north, right? They're aligned to the pole.
Yeah.
So if they're aligned to the pole, then they were aligned to the new pole. But that, that could give you an idea. It's like, okay, so maybe they were built right after the pole shift.
Yeah.
Now we have not just the Younger Dryas period, but there's something going on. There's a Meltwater Pulse 1A, which is like, 14,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's possible that could have been.
And then there's George Howard's Tusk, which clearly, the reason it's cosmic tusk and it's dated to 20 to 7 to 30 possibly.
That's what I'm getting at. So it's like, okay, if let's say that the pole shift happened 20,000 years ago, roughly in that area of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we're talking because, okay, we've got white sands.
Yep.
These massive lakes in North America that just vanish, and then all those people died, and they're now dating to 23,000, 20-something years ago. That's the same time that the tusk is got microspherules embedded in it. So maybe there was something happened there, and this is the beginning of the end of the Pleistocene.
Yep.
It takes another
Bonneville floods might be at that period.
Yeah,
too.
it takes another 10 to 12,000 years for the Younger Dryas thing to take place.
Yeah.
But you could imagine that there's there's a period of calm after that. And so, if there was a crustal shift, maybe all this happened then. Yeah. Then they build the pyramids and all that kind of stuff. And then the pyramids go through the Younger Dryas.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the peopling of those areas comes after, and it's now half buried in sand and all, So it's like, you got to work these things in. And my point is simply that, point number 2. I don't think that it's required that the poles not be at the poles in order to not be frozen.
Yeah.
Because when you start dealing with all this isostatic change and you've got different oceans and different currents, these currents can make a huge difference in what is covered in ice and what is not, just because of the warm water that they bring to that area, which leads to vapor and rainfall and cloud cover. And so I think that it's possible that Antarctica was ice-free, at least on the coastlines, in its current position in terms of the poles. So, but I'm thinking like,
yeah, if the currents changed and brought warm water down there on a regular basis, it could keep the coastlines free of ice for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could still have civilization there. I mean,
yeah.
It would just depend on how stable the system was.
It's like Carpe Noctem, man.
For how long?
Seize the night. 6 months.
Yeah. That's a good point. That would be difficult. That would be difficult. But I'm thinking about this in context of the purposes of a book or a series of books. So I think that if you're going to roll with that theory, which is great.
Yeah, dude, it's detailed and is cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you build all that stuff into it. And so I'm just pointing out a couple of things. Like, you have to explain all of these aligned structures. So they have to come after.
To be post crustal shift. Yeah.
Now, I don't know about people researching other structures. I've heard about other structures that are shifted and they're maybe aligned to the
previous poles
and stuff like that. So that could be a part of it, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
get in the Discord.
Those are my thoughts.
Lots of people that talk about this in the Discord. Pop in there, and they're all great ideas. And yeah, it's awesome. Okay, what else we got here?
Just call the Snake Bros Consulting Group for your for your awesome book.
I'll read it.
For your awesome 7-part trilogy series.
Yeah. Okay, this is called Just Some Stuff.
Just got to put the footprints in there, man.
Yeah, put the footprints.
White Sands footprints.
Yeah.
You got to get them in there.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened. Why was she carrying that child and delivering it to the other side of the lake and then coming back? Like, just put it in there. Just a little piece. Tell me about it. This
is from, let's see, alias Newcomb 23. So since you gave your alias, I won't read your first name on here. So he says, "Greetings, Snake family. First time contactor, long time listener, and Discord lurker here." So I'm just going to dive in. Personally, I'm a little sad regarding your treatment of the electric universe. Kyle went on an epic drunk rant on the topic many moons ago, and then y'all kind of set it to the side while accosting every mention of it. And y'all even went so far as to delete that brilliant episode. What?
What are you talking about? What is electric universe?
I've never heard of this theory. As a pastor, I love hearing the brew pastor sharing his thoughts regarding your conversations. I spent 7 years in church leadership, and the last 12 years running a nonprofit I co-founded focusing on helping church leaders engage with a significant paradigm shift in their dogmatic approach to their local community and the Bible. Everything I have experienced over the last 19 years, combined with your conversations plus many personal chats I've had, my uncle is a geologist, confirm for me that the Church of Progress is real and currently the most influential religion in our culture. Church of Progress being what John Anthony West called the whole linear development people, right? Shifting someone's dogma is difficult at best and impossible at worst. In our nonprofit, we lean heavily on the teaching axiom, experience before explanation. Frankly, you cannot, quote, inform, unquote, someone into such a turn. Such folks, ourselves included, are so inundated with information that we often rely on our religious dogma to be the filter through which we choose what information to embrace and what to discard. In other words, that cannot be true because I did not already believe it. But a personal experience can shake this filter loose, not necessarily free, but loose enough for new information to pass through. And that is when the explanation can hold weight. I imagine you are unaware of this, but your podcast has crafted a similar path. When we read a book, we experience something. When we engage in a conversation, we experience something. When we pore through photographs, we experience something. Personally, this is why I have re-listened to each of your book reports multiple times. Hearing the spoken word engages me to a near experiential degree. Then comes the pause in Russ's voice, and Kyle begins asking for or postulating explanations, and that's when I lean in. And I imagine I'm not the only one. The Snake Force, I suspect, is in part evidence of this. I think this email is already too long, but I'm a preacher at heart, so I'll keep going. On a personal level, listening to your podcast gives me hope for my 3 boys. I have 4 siblings and not a healthy relationship with any. My wife and I have sought to break my generational familial chaos, and your brotherly love is a brilliant picture of how I hope my future adult children can treat each other. Your respect and love for one another saturates every podcast. Inviting your broader family into the podcast was brilliant. And Kyle, your children are darn lucky to have been born into such a caring household and extended family. And Russ, never underestimate the amazing positive impact your presence will be on your niece and nephew. As someone who grew up in a very broken family, I do not write this flippantly. The podcast is nice. The picture of family y'all have shared is beyond pale. Hold tight to your family. And thank you for inviting us into your family, even if only experienced on an auditory level. From the great city known as the Mistake on the Lake, Newcomb 23. And P.S., my preaching professors would be aghast that this, quote, sermon, unquote, did not have 3 points. So please don't tell Dr. Veach.
Wow, man. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Warms and fuzz. Warm and fuzzies.
And look, just to be perfectly straight up and honest, I think the electric universe hypothesis is awesome.
Yeah.
When I first, I listened to a bunch of Wall Thornhill interviews and stuff, and I was just like, yeah, this is great. And that led me to Halton Arp. Velikovsky is at the root of these ideas. We love these ideas. Mm-hmm. The issue I have has nothing to do with the ideas. It has everything to do with the presentation of the ideas. Yeah. And then some strange sort of evangelical
there are some people
followers of the ideas that just can't keep them out of every single possible conversation.
That's right.
And, the sources are all videos. And I'm just like, I'm not a video watcher unless it's Game of Thrones. Okay?
Right.
So it's like, I read these news stories. I mark news stories on a weekly basis in from Scriptard sites they're all about science and, what is the modern discoveries of physics and all this kind of stuff. I pick the stories in a large part when I see that they are discovering something that has a connection to the electric universe hypothesis, to their ideas, to the things that the electric universe hypothesis promotes as like this. It needs to be looked at. We need to study plasma physics. The electric force, the electromagnetic force plays a much larger role in the universe. And news story after news story, there they are, like, whoa, wow, there are giant plasma arcs in the freaking universe. And wow, look at how electromagnetism may be a giant player in supernovas
and planet formation. And
so I bring these up and then I flippantly, pretend like somebody should come up with a theory that maybe just explains some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's a troll.
Yeah, we're trolling.
Not
the people.
The hypothesis.
Right. We're not trolling you guys, obviously.
No, not you guys. You guys are in on the joke.
Yeah. We're trolling the viewers.
The viewers.
The viewers, man. That's all they can talk about.
So that's the gist of it. So there went my shtick. It's gone.
No,
we'll never use it again.
No, it's not.
But thank you very much, buddy.
Yeah.
And
I think
that would be extremely ironic if really I went off on a drunken rant in episode 1.
Yeah.
On the electric universe.
Yeah.
And then I delete. That's not why we just. I like delete.
He just made up that story.
I delete it because it's like, there's too much electric universe in there.
That's not what happened.
I don't think I even knew about it at that time. Maybe I did. I don't remember. I was drunk.
All right, this is from Sean. It's called "For Bleep You Very Much." I don't know what this "For Bleep" is about, but I think it may be a. Do we have a? We don't have a
bleep.
A beep. Yeah.
No. Well, we've got this.
Yeah. Yes, that's what it is. It's you very much. My dear Serpentine brethren, I found my way to your podcast after listening to a Grimerica episode that you were on. You mentioned during your appearance that you had a podcast with Randall Carlson, so I went straight to the Cosmographia pod as I had been intrigued by Randall ever since I heard his and Graham Hancock's appearance on a Joe Rogan episode. After sifting through the Cosmo back catalog for a few months, I grew fond of you both and thought that I should check out the Brothers of the Serpent podcast. And wow, guys, wow. Your podcast is the conversation that I have been having with myself for most of my life.
Wow, man.
I've always been a bit of a skirptard when it came to the mainstream media, academia in general, and have pretty much ostracized myself from most people whenever I started to discuss things that I was truly interested in. This often left me with a sinking feeling, thinking that perhaps my psychology lecturer all those years ago might just be right. I am a sociopath. But holy for bleeping shart, you guys rock. Yes, being a parent has taught me to be creative when it comes to my cussing these days. Not only have you expanded my brain by 33% on a daily basis, you have introduced me to Ben from Uncharted X, a fellow countryman, I might add, and led me to the rim of the UFO rabbit hole with Marty, deepened my interest in this thing we call existence, and renewed my hope in humanity. I am not alone. I am a snake.
Wow.
Enough of the accolades. At this point, I need to say, for bleep you guys very much. I have been boring the absolute bejesus out of my wife for the last few years, telling her about this podcast I want to do. In it, I'll be discussing all of the anomalous issues with taught history and some of the insane cross-cultural religious stuff and all the crazy science stuff going on that is not being reported, and space and some of my own crazy thoughts, and try to get some experts in now and then to discuss what it is that I'm thinking. And Brothers of the Serpent is the podcast that I've been talking about for nearly 3 years now, and I only discovered you guys in March. So I'm now faced with a few dilemmas. One, this is an issue that I am sure I'm not alone in facing. Do I binge like a mother for bleep and cut snake? pardon the Aussie vernacular, but it is appropriate, this newfound stream of information that your podcast has presented, or should I take my time to work through the back catalog so that I am not left cursing you for only doing a weekly show instead of tri-daily? And 2, how do I convince you both that the Electric Universe is the real deal?
Oh my God.
What are you talking about? I don't understand.
I have no idea.
People keep mentioning this like eclectic thing.
It's eclectic universe.
And 3, what becomes of my podcast now that I found out that you are already doing it? Once again, for bleep you very much. Thanks for all the time and effort you guys are putting into it, and please never stop doing this podcast. Cheers from Sean. And P.S. Pimpansies, fuck yeah.
Oh, you left out the bleep on that.
I know. Yeah, that one deserves the F-bomb, buddy.
That was a mind blower. Oh my God.
Thanks, Sean. That was a great email.
So
Thank you very much. Yeah. Sorry we're already doing your show.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, man, it's a great show.
Yeah, it's been fun. Appreciate it.
Great ideas. It sounds like it'd be an awesome show.
I wish you could have been there from the beginning. It was great. It's been so much fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We'll have to look into the erection universe or whatever you called it.
The trolling never stops. Okay, one more. Let's do one more. This is called Mobile Phone from Istvan. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, buddy. Hello, Snakes. I have to share a couple of stories with you. It seems I am officially an exceptional person. Last night, in my dream, I was holding my mobile phone in my hand, trying to take a picture of a guy who tried to bulldoze our house.
Not using a phone. Okay. He was using a camera.
Right. I could clearly see the photo mode of my iPhone, but when I took a picture, the picture was not of the scene I wanted to take the picture of. I tried to adjust the zoom as well, but my alarm woke me up. Actually, this was the second time I clearly saw my phone in a dream within 2 months. Possible that I am stepping into a different reality of dreams. The other story is totally crazy, and I'm still trying to accept the fact that some people might consider me crazy for believing all this. One of our best friends just told us that her brother's house is haunted by their grandpa's ghost. I tried my best to be Kyle the Skirp Derp, but after hearing the stories, I ran out of explanations and now consider myself a believer. So, some of the best ones. A plate flew out from the cupboard and broke to pieces, and the plate was the third from the bottom of a pile of 8. The neighbors heard loud banging of furniture and people arguing while the family was away. The boy from the flat next to theirs came over to check to make sure it was not a robbery. He looked through all the windows and everything was untouched and nobody was inside. Our friend stayed with her son there, and when they went to bed, her niece stayed in the same room too, as they don't see each other too often. The TV came on with a computer desktop screen displayed on it. There was no PC or laptop in the house for anyone to connect. At this point, I was like, yeah, maybe the neighbors connected somehow. And here's the rest of what happened. Our friend got up, unplugged the TV, went back to bed, and the screen came back on. At this point, the kids were very scared, so she told them it is their grandfather sending them a message. She
unplugged the VCR.
Right. Classic scriptard. She could not sleep all night and never stayed in that house for a sleepover again. Things like hearing loud steps or someone sitting down on the sofa and breathing loudly are normal things for the family to experience, and they simply say, Grandpa is here again, as it is him who used to sit there and breathe like that. And it has been going on for many years now. They ignore it and never thought about recording anything as they do not want to be the local crazy people. Just a quick question at the end. Have you read books from Joseph P. Farrell or considered him to be on the show? He could talk for days about interesting things. Thank you for being amazing. The podcast is truly a gift to the world. Snake Force, spread the word. Good morning, good day, good night, everyone out there listening from Istvan. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Good stories there. Yeah, some of that sounded like poltergeist activity, but then you're talking about, Grandpa doing the sitting and breathing, and man, what an interesting case. I think Soraya would like to hear about that. Like on his show, like he does
listener
stories, and like I think he'd love that one, man. And he's better at doing that analysis on that kind of paranormal stuff than we are. But yeah, those were really cool stories, and I love the fact that you had 2 dreams about your using your phone. That's awesome.
Come on.
And it didn't work.
You had 2 dreams about using your camera.
That's right. That's
Totally
what,
different.
I find it interesting because I have in a few other dreams, like my phone comes up in some context, but it's always like the clock or, it's the camera or something. It's never
Somebody did send us an email where they made a call.
That's right. And then it called the wrong person and then they, or whatever, calls them or something. It was weird. Yeah. Cool stuff. I still find it interesting that the phones are so often, like all the time in our daily lives, and it's just they just don't seem to show up in the dream very much. It's just weird.
Very rare.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I love the phone dream reports. Keep them coming.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's really cool. All right, guys. Well, such great emails.
It's over.
Yeah. Such great emails. Thank you guys so much for all the emails. Keep sending them. We're going to be in Egypt for 2 weeks. We'll try to make content while we're there and get it published, do some roadsodes. Can't promise anything, but I guarantee you we'll try.
Yeah.
Looking forward to getting back and talking with you guys. Maybe we'll have the Watcher in studio when we get back and we can do we were joking around that he can interview us about being in Egypt on the show. That'll be fun. All right, guys. You can get a hold of us, brothersoftheserpent@gmail.com. If you want your emails read on the show, send them in. I do read them all personally. I can't possibly read them all on the show, but if you send them, there's a chance. Website, brothersoftheserpent.com. You can find all the podcast-related stuff there, including the Encyclopedia, the glossary of terms, the SnakeSkins section, which is our merchandise store. You can buy cool stuff made by us, Brothers of the Serpent gear and merch, plus things made by other supporters of the show like Jeff. Get yourself a Johnson shirt. Join the Pyramid Scheme through Patreon if you want to do monthly donations, or PayPal if you want to do a one-time donation. Thank you so much to all of you who have done that. The Pyramid Scheme has been growing by leaps and bounds. We really appreciate that. It does help us on these trips to pyramids and back.
That's right.
And there is I made a new support page on the website, so there's more support information there, links to the Patreon, links to the PayPal, and some crypto addresses. And if there's a crypto you want to donate and the address for that crypto isn't there, let me know in an email and I will add it.
We got a quick note here from Adam, who gave us a donation on PayPal. He says, "Glad you guys got through my long-winded email on episode 216.
Yeah.
Enjoy Egypt."
All right. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it, buddy. So join the Discord. That's also on the website. Just go to the Discord section and click that connect button. Discord works either as an app on your phone or you can use it through the browser. Check out the Library of the Serpent, which is run by Jeff. Has tons of readable material in there. Links to books and audiobooks to buy, all themed around the stuff we talk about on the show. It's a great resource. Thanks to History Shift who makes all of our YouTube videos. He really has donated his time and his talent to the show, and that's what we ask for: time, talent, or treasure. If you get any value from the show, give us some value back in any of those three things. That's the value for value model. And thanks to Soraya from Where Did the Road Go, who we need to get back on the show, and he's asked us back on his, so maybe we'll do that after we get back from Egypt. And of course, Ben from Uncharted X. Thank you so much, buddy, for this opportunity to go to Egypt. So we'll see you guys on the other side of that. We love you.
See you on the other side. We love you, always have.
Always will.
Good night, Adamu.
Get back to work.
Pyramids and snakes.